Hey everyone, welcome back to Jamboree Chemistry. In today's video, I'm going to give my full comprehensive review and analysis of the board Rainbow Galleria. I'm going to be discussing the good, the not so good, and how I believe certain things can be improved. So everyone, let's jump into it. Starting with the good. This board is easily one of the best in the Mario Party franchise. It has a great layout, exceptional items, and an overall immersive atmosphere with a lot of attention to detail. But what makes these things so good? Let's start with the layout. The layout is comprised of 3 different floors, all interconnected at some point, with a singular pathway on the top 2 floors and a loop around on the first floor. Counting the loop around, the elevator, and all of the escalators, there are 7 different forks in which you have to incorporate directional decision making. This is more than any other board in Mario Party Jamboree. This is a huge positive, as directional decision making entails having to weigh the benefits and risks of going in either direction, and often requires deciding which direction will put you in the better position to acquire the maximum amount of future equity. One particular decision I like is whether or not to take the 3rd floor elevator going down, or to continue on the path to stay on the 3rd floor. This decision is good because it requires weighing the options of staying on the 3rd floor and traversing your way down to the first half of the 2nd floor, in which you have the opportunity to go to the golden item shop, the thrift shop, the Boo Bell item shop, and or the lottery station, versus going down to the 1st floor, in which you'll have the opportunity to pass the 1 coin item shop for a less valuable but cheaper item, pass the stamp station, and have your board position improve as you'll have more outlets to more areas of the board. The directional decision at the bottom of the elevator presents a similar decision with similar stakes attached. Another decision which I particularly like is the fork in the path between taking the escalator up to the 3rd floor and taking the escalator down to the 1st floor. This again presents the decision between multiple item shops as well as other stations in which you can increase your coin equity, and going down to the 1st floor to pass the stamp station and or increase your overall position with multiple direction outlets. One particular benefit about going up to the 3rd floor is the opportunity to pass Boo. This can be situationally more beneficial during the end of the game, in which you need a timely star steal from a threatening opponent. Let's next go into the items. The next component that raises Rainbow Galleria to elite status is the items. There are a total of 6 item shops, all with their own unique collection of items. This concept of absolute variability is one that has not been explored on any other Mario Party board. With all of the different items featured, there are a combined 19 options available throughout the game. Some of the premium items featured include the Golden Pipe, the Triple Payday Dice, the Boo Bell, the Super Swap Mirror, and the Super Dueling Glove. Additionally, the classic options are also featured, including the Triple Dice, Custom Dice, and Double Dice. All of these items help to create an environment in which there is constant change and variability between player statuses, and helps to avoid a game of stagnancy and predictability. The last thing that I believe truly brings this board together is the immersive atmosphere. There are so many different facets of this that really bring this board to life. First is the color scheme. The idea of a rainbow color scheme is perfect, as it represents the many characters, worlds, and all other stimuli associated with the Mario franchise. I like the fact that they didn't just use standard rainbow colors, as the light wash color scheme really adds to the charm and makes the entire atmosphere more visually appealing. Next is the presentation of the layout. Everything in this layout is presented in a way that is neat and symmetrical. Compare this to other boards such as King Bowser's Keep or Goomba Lagoon. While these are also great boards, the presentation of the layout looks a little disjointed and asymmetrical. Keep in mind, this has nothing to do with the function of the layout, and I'm strictly referring to aesthetics. Rainbow Galleria, on the other hand, has a completely symmetrical layout in which there are 2 escalators in the back, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and an elevator in the center to bring everything together. Furthermore, the pathways also line up evenly from left to right. This layout presentation is top-notch and looks like how someone would design a mall in real life. Last are the many meticulous references to other boards in the game. These include the milk signs referencing Westernland, the volcano signs referencing Goomba Lagoon, and the racetrack signs referencing Roll'em Raceway. These references are an effective way to tie everything together and make Rainbow Galleria feel more comprehensive. So now let's get into some of the things that I find a little troubling with the board. While Rainbow Galleria is a top-tier board, it certainly has its flaws. Some of these flaws are minor, while some are frustratingly impeding to the overall experience. The first thing that really bothers me about this board is the fact that the top floor item shops require landing on an event space to access. For a board in which the entire theme revolves around the diversity and potency of items, having all of the most unique and potent items unavailable through passing their respective item shops is a huge missed opportunity. This board really had an opportunity to be played through multiple back and forth usages of golden pipes, boo bells, triple payday dice, super dueling gloves, and super swap mirrors. This could have led to really fun, high-equity lead changes. Instead, we're left with a situation in which these items are rarely used or even purchased. As I mentioned in my ranking video, there are already roadblocks in place to get these items, these being your position on the board and the number of coins in which you possess at the time in which you pass each shop. These roadblocks alone already provide enough of a control on the game getting completely out of hand and the use of these items becoming overly inflated. Additionally, the number of turns in which you play also provides a limit on how easily and frequently these items can be accessed. If you're playing on Pro Rules, you can probably only get to each item shop once, and you may not even get to one or more of these item shops at all. With all of that being said, there's no need to add the limiting factor of having to land on an event space to access these item shops. Because of this, we're left with a situation in which we find ourselves wondering what could be while we're exposed to a variety of flashy new items that are mainly unavailable to us. The next thing that I find troubling with this board is the fact that they used the event spaces for the top floor item shops instead of using them in a more interactive way. If we look back to the classic boards from Superstars, there's always event spaces that activate an event that affects other players on the board. In Horrorland, the event spaces change the time of day between day and night, which can affect your current status, but it can also affect other players because it changes the time of day for them too. In Woody Woods, the sign event space that you land on changes the sign for all players, affecting anyone in or near that area. And in Spaceland, the event spaces trigger the speed patrol that end up moving all players on that specific path. Even in the other new boards on Jamboree, there's an event that affects all of the players in the game, including the train in Westernland, the tides in Goomba Lagoon, and the direction changing in King Bowser's Keep. Now, compare this with the events that happen in Rainbow Galleria. All of them are connected to item shops or coin stations, in which the event affects only the player that lands on the event space. This makes the game feel less interactive and overall more stoic and stale. You consistently have players landing on event spaces in which no one else has to fear for the safety of their status. I'm able to go to the bathroom in between turns and come out fairly confident that my plan is still in play. I'm exaggerating a bit, as there are still other ways to affect other players, such as boo and jumping in front of another player's star position, but overall, it just leaves something lacking from the experience. The next thing that I find disappointing about this board is the lack of roadblocks in terms of direction taking. Examples of this include the Womps in Horrorland, the Tides in Goomba Lagoon, or the Skeleton Gates in several other boards. There aren't any of these directional roadblocks in Rainbow Galleria, and I feel that this was another missed opportunity because these roadblocks really add to the challenge of planning and strategizing how to be in the right place at the right time. Instead, we're left with a pathway that never changes. You can pretty much go the same direction on turn 3 as you can on turn 17, regardless of any other variables. The one minor roadblock is that the elevator costs 5 coins, but planning ahead to make sure you have at least 5 coins is so minor compared to the strategy that it takes to avoid the directional roadblocks on other boards. You may be thinking, wait, don't the Womps that I mentioned on Horrorland also cost 5 coins to move? And the answer is yes, but what makes the Womps actually challenging is that they can't be moved at night, so you have to plan to make sure that you can pass them during the day. This may mean having to weigh the options of using a mushroom or a double dice on the second day turn instead of saving it for a different opportunity. You don't have to weigh these options in Rainbow Galleria, as the elevator is equally accessible on every turn. The last thing that I find disappointing is the way the flash sale operates and the lack of impact it has on the overall outcome. I think the flash sale as currently constructed is quite boring and doesn't particularly impact the game in any considerable way. Yes, you will occasionally have the situation in which the player with 15 coins gets to pass the star during the flash sale and buy it for only 10, but the way that the coin economy is so inflated in this game, most players will either have 20 coins during the time of purchase, or they won't even be in the vicinity of the star anyway during the flash sale. Also, because it happens once every 5 turns, it doesn't play a continuous or consistent role in the game. This makes for very situational moments that happen in which the flash sale actually has a significant impact, maybe once or twice in the entire game across all players. This is the same problem that I have with the top floor item shops, in which the items are purchased so infrequently that it seems to be based more on luck, and there are rarely opportunities for fair counterplay from opponents. So, how could these things be improved? Let's start with item shop availability. This is a pretty easy one to fix. The event space could simply be removed, and all item shops could be available by passing them rather than having to land on a specific space. This would ensure that these premier items were more regularly acquired and used throughout the game. Next, let's talk about directional roadblocks. There's really only one thing that I can think of that they could have done to incorporate directional roadblocks into this board. That would be escalator closings on certain turns. They could operate the escalators so that they're only available once every other turn or every 2 turns. They could tie the closing of the escalators into the theme, such as a slippery top floor after cleaning, or maintenance issues with the escalators themselves. This would make it so that the pathways were only accessible on certain turns, and planning to either reach them in time or wait until they're once again operating would become a variable for in-game strategy. This is a much better alternative to the concept of having to land on an event space in order to access an item shop, because it provides a barrier that must be crossed or avoided, but this barrier is set up in a way that allows for planning and decision-making rather than the luck of a dice roll. You may be thinking, wait, can't I just buy a custom dice block on the second floor item shop and plan to use it on a top floor item shop of my choosing? And the answer is yes, you can do that. But then you're using that item shop purchase on a custom instead of something else you may want to purchase, such as a double dice or something else. And even if you wanted to purchase the custom dice, you are still then left in a position where you may have to sacrifice range, landing on a lucky space, or saving it to ensure you reach a star, all to secure the opportunity of getting one of these items. Most importantly, you can only use the custom dice once, meaning that you have to choose which of these top floor item shops you want to visit, rather than being able to visit both, thus reinforcing my previous complaint about the infrequency and inequality of these top floor items. Next, let's talk about the flash sale. I feel that I have a couple of potential solutions for the flash sale quandary. One, I think it could happen more frequently. Instead of happening once every 5 turns and playing a minor role in the game, they could really dig into the shopping mall theme and have it once every other turn, such as the signs in Woody Woods, or run it on and off on a 2-turn cycle, such as the day-night switch in Horrorland. I think this would really help with the purpose of planning for it more consistently, and allow more opportunities for those meticulous coin differences in which players may need to try to wait or move to capitalize when they are hovering between just enough coins during the flash sale versus not enough during standard pricing. The economy inflation would still make it so that this problem is irrelevant most of the time, but a higher frequency in flash sales would simply allow for more of these opportunities to occur throughout the game. The second option, and this could be used instead of or in conjunction with the first option, would be increasing the disparity between the number of coins required during the flash sales and standard pricing. For example, the star could cost 40 coins during standard pricing, and it could then cost 10 during the flash sale. Or the golden pipe could cost 50 during standard pricing, and then 20 during the flash sale. This would directly address the problems associated with the inflated economy and make capitalizing on the flash sale all the more crucial. Finally, let's talk about the event spaces. As I mentioned before, the main issue with the event spaces is that the associated events don't affect other players in any way. I think there are a couple of different options that would make for compelling interactive events. The first option is the one I mentioned in my ranking video, which is to tie the events to the flash sale. This would make a lot of sense if the flash sale were operated on a 1 or 2 turn cycle. Landing on the event space would simply activate or deactivate the flash sale and then reset the cycle. This would make it a great way to either help yourself by activating the flash sale or screw over an opponent by deactivating it. Another thing they could do with the event spaces would be tying them to the directional roadblock that I suggested with the escalators. Similar to the flash sale option, landing on the event space would either make the escalators accessible or inaccessible. This once again could supply the opportunity to affect both yourself as well as your opponents. Overall, Rainbow Galleria is an excellent board, and the pros certainly outweigh the cons. While there are definitely things they could have done better, this board still holds a lot of weight in regards to its mechanics and playability. In my opinion, it is a top 2 board in Jamboree and a top 5 board overall. Well everyone, that's all I have for today. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with as many people as you'd like. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.